Good morning.
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 Glad to see everyone back. Hope everyone had a good night, found a good place for a meal and whatnot. Yesterday, several people said, geez, Ken, you look tired. Your eyes are all red. I was so overwrought with emotion, with the progress that was making and the vision of what the future could be and the opportunities that await us. I was totally overwhelmed. I was being my genuine self. Truth is, I have pollen allergies, and they were bothering me. So, but if you bought into the, I was so overwrought and so pleased with the work, that's an accurate statement. Just now, I had a great conversation with Caroline from the IMMERSE Center here at the university, and she'll be presenting with Duo in a little bit. And she overheard our conversation about going forth and building an open platform and doing this. Well, they're working on the same thing. And she said, this sounds like a great opportunity to collaborate. So we may be closer to having something take place than we thought, which I think is just exciting to be able to think about. We're at the stage that we're actually thinking of doing something as opposed to about talking about it. So, and your work is essential in that, especially in the breakout groups that we're going to talk about today. We have two videos, just video clips, short summary of what took place yesterday. One courtesy of Sam from Solo XR, the second from Kevin. This is courtesy of Sam from Solo XR. Srini, roll it. Demonstrate how we can take advantage of what
that has potential to confuse what a person is pigeonholed, but I think it's something that we all.
I mean, that's my graphic interpretation of what you did say. But so go to Evan next, and then we'll.
Sorry.
My bad.
It's just.
And the next clip is from Kevin. And as you're watching these, if you are like me, when I see a person that I saw just yesterday, in my mind I'm thinking about what they said, the point that sticks with me. Reflect on that if you would, as you see these. What points are coming into your memory from yesterday?
Maybe Kevin's music wasn't loud enough, but I like Sam's music better.
So Kevin is going to put that on his social media platforms, and you saw folks with microphones and whatnot. That was the podcast recording he did. He was able to capture 6 participants in a podcast that's going to go out, and that just further socializes the work and talks about what we're doing and helps make connections, because that's an important part as we're dealing with immersive learning, and the technology piece is making the connections beyond our normal friends and family. So that's all parts of it. Today we're going to hear from Caroline and from Duo from the IMMERSE Center here. They're going to explain their work and talk about how what they're doing aligns with quite a bit of what we've been talking about. Following that, we'll have a breakout group overview, and we will go into our breakout groups. We will take a break at the completion of the breakout groups, and then we will come back and do group reports.
One observation, I have many, but and there was a lot of good discussion yesterday, but even in preparation for our speakers that we're about to hear from, there was the sort of, it was signified multiple times about how the fire department today is so much heavily oriented on the EMS side versus all the other calls that, so there's been a transition. So it's quite applicable, just to add that.
Any other thoughts, high-level thoughts or comments? As we go forward today, I ask you, as you look at the rubric and you look at the conformity assessment framework, answer the question, how does this help me do my job? Or, in the alternative, and I hope this is not what you're thinking, how is this getting in the way of me doing my job? And then secondly, what problem are we trying to solve? Is it in fact a problem? Or are we just creating a solution looking for a problem? We want your honest feedback on that. We know what we think, but we need to find out what you think. From your perspective, in your role, whether it be in training, whether it be as a developer, whatever your role is, how will this help you do your job, if at all? So.
And if I could just add to that, my color commentary, it's very important about the vision of where do we want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Recognizing the world is changing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, really keep in mind, where are we trying to go here as we work through, and what we're thinking of as the deliverables from this effort.
Mm-hmm.
How do we want to get there, and will these items that we're working on help us reach that vision?
And part of that vision is hearing from Caroline and Duo. So welcome. Not yet, I'm gonna hold on.
Okay, so I'm managing several devices here. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Carolyn Kao, and I have my colleague here, Duo Wang. Hopefully we'll be able to give you an idea of what we've been doing at UIUC, especially related to immersive technology using XR and AI for education and training, mostly in the medical domain, but also in other domains. So just to give you a little bit of background, I am professor in the College of Engineering here. I'm also director for engineering innovation and medical simulation in the College of Medicine, the world's first engineering-based College of Medicine. And now there are 25 in the world using our model. At the same time, I'm director for applied health technology initiatives in the College of Engineering. All these titles really mean that my work is focused on developing technology, especially related to healthcare. So I think hopefully this will give you some idea of what we're trying to do. And I'm also the lead for human experience in IMMERSE. And so let me start with that. IMMERSE is a center for research that was newly launched about 2 years at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, built from an investment for growth fund from the Provost's office with a $4 million purse. The idea of this center, directed by Sarita Adve, is to advance immersive technology for various applications, so that we can achieve this vision. Vision of all-day, comfortable, rich immersive experience. Now, even though we've come very far, I mean, we as in the community for immersive computing, we've come very far. but we're still experiencing challenges. For example, headsets are heavy, they are not comfortable, they don't have good resolution, and depending on what it is you're trying to do, they're very limiting. You can't move around too easily. So, you know, what we're trying to do is address the technology aspect, but we're also looking at challenges related to the applications of immersive technology. A lot of work has been done in the education and training applications in various domains, in medicine, mostly in medicine. Now we're seeing more and more in manufacturing, in corporate relations. And I have a picture there of something that you can recognize. Hopefully, you're also doing that with fire safety, firefighting. Now, effective technology is only effective if they're being used by human operators or human users. Used but also adopted by human users. And of course, all of this depends on the context, depends on the user need, depends on whether there is a, I want to say, market product fit. You can develop the best technology. If no one wants to use it, if no one is willing to pay for it, it's not going to be used. And I think Ken said something that I wanted to reiterate. The commercialization or the transfer of technology to the user environment depends on user experience. And so this is one of our major thrusts in Immerse, to look at human experience, including experiential factors, contextual factors, and social factors. So from a human factors perspective, which is my training, designing for user experience or designing for users to enhance performance, safety, comfort, etc., really depends on understanding what the user needs are, understanding the contextual factors, understanding the constraints of the environment, and you know, something that we don't usually think about, but I think this audience, you think about, and that is there are also organizational, regulatory issues that impact how we do our work, how we do our training, how we practice what we do, all the way to societal impact. So one of the first experiences we have, and this dates to 20 years ago, we started using VR to train medical skills. And this started because laparoscopic surgery or minimally invasive surgery was just coming online, and people knew that or understood that training required a safe space. We can't be training and practicing on patients, which is how it was done in the past. So we started developing part task trainer to train basic technical skills. And then with the advent of immersive technology or VR, we developed a VR system in order to replace the physical system. Of course, you all also understand the advantages of VR systems. It allows us to generate different scenarios, even rare scenarios, so that you are able to reduce the cost of simulation. There's also an opportunity for tracking performance objectively. We can reduce the use of consumables. I know that you also do simulation using mannequins, you know, setting up fires in buildings. That's very costly and time consuming. And eventually we realized that in medicine, especially in surgery, technical skills alone is not enough. Knowing how to suture, knowing how to tie a good knot, it's not enough to perform safe and effective surgery. Knowing the procedure, knowing the context, and understanding what kind of decisions need to be made during the procedure is important. So we moved from basic surgical skills, technical skills, to more judgment, evaluation, decision-making skills, and eventually to communication skills. understanding that the surgeon does not operate alone, the surgeon operates with a team of OR members. Oh, and I wonder whether I can play video. So there are technologies that we can use, techniques that we can use in order to support various needs for the human operator, whether it's for navigation, whether it is for understanding the geometry of the patient's anatomy. These are just examples, standalone examples of what we can do. Now with the awareness of patient safety and medical errors, the medical profession is moving towards simulation training using, similar to what you're using high fidelity simulation. At the Jump Simulation Center on campus, we have a full-scale, high-fidelity environment to train clinical skills for our medical students. And you might be familiar with the fully responsive mannequins where they're very responsive. You can inject drugs and you can see responses due to the drug. They cry, they have tears, they respond to interactions with our medical students and clinicians. And of course, understanding how expensive it is to run these high fidelity simulation. Not only is it expensive in terms of materials, and by the way, this is a billion-dollar industry. The way that we're trying to train medical students and clinicians using mannequins, using part task trainers, it's very expensive to produce. So we're looking at the potential of using VR, XR, MR. VR is virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and as a general term, we're using the term XR to include all of this. So we're investigating and actually practicing applying XR for our medical training. These are two examples where we are also using AI-enabled interactions. Jewel will talk a little bit more about that later. What I want to show you here is a really old video. And what I want to impress upon you is that we do not need high fidelity XR for training. Oh, hold on, where'd it go? This is a scenario of an OR fire. Oh, there's no sound. Is there sound? Oh, there is sound.
Does he have stomach bug?
Okay, so I think you get the idea. And I thought this would be interesting to you, this audience in particular. The idea of this video or this training module was to impart upon the trainees that they have to learn how to assess the situation, understand what the procedure is. For novices who are not familiar or haven't learned the procedure, with the siren, with the alarm going off, it induces a lot more stress than normally you would feel. But that's the whole point. The point of designing immersive environments for training is to engage the user in the scenario. And for this particular scenario, there is no need for high fidelity, meaning visually realistic rendering of the environment. And so we can devote the computational power to other elements in the simulation design to induce the stress that is necessary, so that we can train the appropriate actions and outcomes. So this is where I stop, and I want to turn this over to Jewel.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is
Morning.
So at the practical level, I'd like to introduce you three examples, three cases that we have developed. They're all simulations with using XR and AI. And in particular, today I would like to focus on how we integrate AI into XR simulations, because everybody knows using VR or XR technologies to help train professionals has been over 10 years out there. So everybody knows it's capable, everybody knows it's the future, but what is the current advancement of virtual reality? The point from our perspective is the newly launched LLM or generative AI could really advance and bump up our simulation. So 3 examples. The first example, I will briefly introduce a little bit about medical simulation at Job Simulation Center. So we have a wide spectrum of medical simulations from more of like repeated procedural skills training to diagnostic skills training, more of the communication and soft skills. And these different medical simulations actually require different technologies, different environments. And we have met quite a lot of challenges in practicing medical and providing medical simulations at the sim center. For instance, these mannequins are very expensive, right? And one of them is over $100,000. And we also identified other challenges. For example, we have space requirements, we have a short of staffing, and in some cases, there is an inconsistency of the knowledge. And I will give you more details about that. And at Sim Center, we use different types of XR platforms. We have MetaQuest 3, we have Apple Vision Pro, we also have a bunch of Microsoft HoloLenses. So like I said, given the nature of different medical simulations, we select different platforms that fit better to the case. And there are a lot of projects going on, and today I will focus on upper left 2 cases. And our goal today here, at Sim Center, and our major mission is to connect extended reality, generative AI, and explore how we can use these 2 powerful tools to tackle and help challenges in professional training, including medical training, law enforcement, etc., also including firefighter trainings. So our key question is how to leverage these technologies to advance professional trainings. And the first case today is how we integrate AI as an AI-driven virtual patient. So congestive heart failure is a very commonly seen disease, and it is a required medical simulation for our medical students. And this is an image of a typical in-person CHF simulation. As you can see, it takes the whole the whole room, the whole OR room, and I believe it can. Okay, so The lady in the bed is what we call standardized patient. It's actually basically just an actor. And so in order to provide these simulation session, we have to train the actor, and it requires at least 2 staff to control the whole flow and to provide lab results and additional information. And there is a facilitator on site to guide the students. And the students have to be come together at the same time, and then they need to use the whole facilities. So my point is, just to run a single in-person simulation session requires many people, many resources, and a lot of time from everyone. And it's not very easy to arrange. And here is a virtual reality version of this the same simulation. We built up a VR scenario derived from the exact same case, and then currently it's a single player simulation, and we are at this moment we are expanding it into a multiplayer collaborative simulation, and the students can learn the exact same knowledge and practice through the simulation. And here's a video of the simulation. So the key point here is the AI-driven virtual patient. As you can see, this patient is called Susan, and actually you can talk.
You had trouble breathing recently, Susan?
Started about 6 months ago.
So this is the first case where we integrated LLM. Susan's conversation is all driven by LLM, and she can answer questions about medical history, about allergies, about her symptoms, how she feels, and so that the students can get more intuitive and natural information from the patient, and then the students can follow along the user interface to make diagnosis and provide treatments. So in this case, we leverage generative AI to drive our virtual patient, mostly the conversation and body movement. And in the second case, we use AI to power our instructors. Lumbar puncture is another required simulation session for our students, and so unlike congestive heart failure, this is a procedural skills. So it takes a lot of practices to build muscle memories, and this is a typical in-person simulation for lumbar puncture, where it takes a group of students and it requires a facilitator to introduce all instruments and then to introduce the procedure, and then students will practice one by one with the physical task trainer. The problem here is for lumbar puncture simulation, the facilitators are different from year to year because they don't have appointment for this session. So essentially they are volunteers. It requires a lot of manpower to invite and arrange their time and spaces to make it happen. And more importantly, because of the difference in the facilitators, it results in a significant inconsistency in knowledge because they were trained differently for lumbar puncture, so they teach so differently. To address that, we developed a mixed reality lumbar puncture trainer on Apple Vision Pro, and here is a short trailer for the application. So unlike VR, virtual reality applications, this is a mixed reality application. So you can see both the physical task trainer and the virtual elements through the MR glasses. And the idea here is to watch the 3D demonstrations on top of the physical task trainer. These are all 3D animation, and after watching these, the learners can practice with their hands on the physical objects without having to take off the glasses. So these are the 3D demonstrations, and after watching this, the students can just practice. Because we all know that a fully virtual simulation has a major pitfall where it does not keep the physical feedback. So for lumbar puncture and voiceover, and by clicking on that microphone button,
which hand should I use to hold the middle?
the student can ask a question. And there's a little bit of delay there. And here's the response.
This hand will be used to insert. Make sure to position the needle correctly as described in the procedure steps, ensuring the bevel edge is appropriately oriented.
So in this second case, we use AI mostly to build up this virtual instructor to help students with any difficulties or questions. And ideally, this is a mock-up for what we envision for the AI instructor. So not only text and voiceover, we also wanted to demonstrate 3D animation by the AI. So in our current version, our AI instructor can actually do this. While answering questions, it can play 3D animations based on the answer. And in the third case, we use AI to provide AI guidance on virtual characters' social interactions or social behaviors. And this is a training scenario for law enforcement to help build up their empathetic communication skills. This is not specifically for medical professionals, but this is for law enforcement. And let's just watch this quick trailer first.
One dispatch, report to 1004 South 4th Street. Neighbor called. There is a man pacing in front of his house. Seems to be distraught. Please respond.
Good morning, sir. My name is Tyler Marshall with the Libertyville Police Department. I received a call out here. Yeah, I'm here to help you. Whatever you need. I'm sorry you feel that way, sir, but what else do you need?
I've lost everything. Don't try to stop me.
Is there anything I can do for you to help you?
You're right. I'm so tired of being alone. Maybe it's time to try again.
So we built this scenario to help train law enforcement on their empathetic communication. And the background is we provide a platform where the trainers can customize a scenario on both the environment and the virtual character. As you just saw, we built up this neighborhood, and this is derived from a real-world case where there's a suicidal personnel standing in front of his door, and the police officer show up, and the training here is to ask the police trainees to confront this suicidal person and to de-escalate the situation and save this person. And before the training session, the instructor has the control on the virtual character and the environment to decide what kind of environment it has to be and how they want the characters look like. it can be many aspects can be changed. For example, personalities, the background, the reasons for the suicidal intention, and many others parameters. And here's the basic structure of this application. The trainee wears a VR glass to experience the virtual environment, and we designed, so this is the trainee's view, and this is the first person view from the trainee, and this is the virtual character driven by AI. So every single word this virtual character says is driven by a large language model. So we did not pre-script anything for this virtual character. We only give a context, what kind of reason, what you have experienced, and what's your intention. And all the interaction is driven by the character itself, by the AI. And since this is a scenario to train empathy, we also developed this rubric to help LLM evaluate the empathy score for the trainee. So every single turnaround after the trainee speaks, the large language model scores the trainee's a conversation following this rubric, and then the AI send the score to the virtual character. The virtual character will respond based on how empathetic the trainee's conversation is, so that we can create an interaction where the AI's response is based off the trainee's input. So everything is dynamic, everything is adaptive. And let's just watch some actions. So this is.
I'm sorry you feel that way, sir. Is there anything I can do for you to help you?
So this is the first person view of a trainee. And this is that was the third person view, and this is the first person view.
Yes, sir. I'm here for you. What do you need? What seems to be the problem?
Stay back. You're just like the others, giving orders, thinking you know what's best. You don't understand. Everyone keeps telling me what I need. I lost everything.
So as you can see, the voice, the text, the speech, and the body movements are all driven by the AI. And finally, there's another piece, there's another component of the system is this feedback dashboard. So let me play this. So this is a speed up version. As you can see, every turnaround we can see the score of the input, and down there is the sentences that the trainee said, and then we also provide a final score, and we also provide this empathy word cloud to show the empathetic words that are identified, and then there is. We should replay it. So every turnaround, you can see a new score, and at the end, we also show the occurrence of the empathetic words from the sentences. So in this third case, my point is we integrate AI in another way, where we leverage the AI to help us evaluate the performance of the trainees, and we also leverage the AI to guide virtual characters' behaviors, so that we can simulate a fully dynamic and adaptive simulation that nobody has a full control. Yeah, and that's my part. Thank you.
Just a question, sorry.
Yes.
So you are using the AI here. Is it like a customized AI? So it's not like the general, for example, ChatGPT. So you feed it with information, with a question and answer, and only with that limitation of the database of the information the AI will be answering. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is a great question. So in this case, we're using, so in terms of foundational models, currently we're using ChatGPT, sorry, not ChatGPT, one of the GPT models.
Okay.
But in our next iteration, we're going to use one of the open source foundational models, and then we're going to fine tune a specific model for purposes. So yes, currently we're using rack systems where we have local domain knowledge. In our next version, we'll have a more customized foundational model.
Yes. Second question, was that a loaded gun with the
Oh,
police?
no.
Shouldn't be, because I would be, wearing glasses and mixed reality.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
What is the background or the skill set of your instructors, and how do you prepare the students if they don't have comfort or exposure to VR and VR?
Oh, that's a great question. So first, for instructors, do you mean how do we build the work?
How do you train the students and so on to use the VR and to be open to it and let it be effective?
Yeah. So we're in a phase to validate the simulation. So yeah.
So in fact, all of our simulations are developed with domain experts. For the medical simulations, we work with domain experts in
So the surgeons and so on.
Surgeons, clinicians, instructors who are in our faculty of medicine. For the PTI, for this de-escalation scenario, we're working with instructors at the PTI. PTI is Police Training Institute of Illinois. And they're on campus, so we've been working with them to develop scenarios. In fact, this is one of the scenarios that they use for training.
And then how do you get the student, the surgeons or the medical, even the police and so on, are you aware, or can you describe a little bit of how you get them comfortable with VR to be
They
open?
are very enthusiastic. We don't even have to ask. And I think this is a testament to their need for more flexible and variety of training modalities. When we first approached them, they were very enthusiastic, and then when we demonstrated the prototype, they were even more enthusiastic. They can't wait for us to develop a full range of modules for training. In the past, I can tell you that in the past, when I first started in this business 25 years ago, getting people to learn how to use VR was difficult, and so we would have to deal with the learning curve of learning to use the technology before they can achieve any learning in their domain content. I think there's lots of questions.
So you're saying now they're coming to you with that knowledge already embedded?
Knowledge of
VR, AR, and
a lot of these trainees, they're younger, they have played video games, they understand the capability, and they're very familiar with VR technology.
Do any of these use cases allow the user to see the negative impact? So just using the lumbar trainer as an example, if they do it incorrectly and there would be an adverse reaction in reality, do they get to see what that adverse reaction would look like?
That
Blood
is
starts coming out instead of the.
well, we haven't developed that far into the scenario for that.
Okay.
We're just starting with this project, but you're right. For simulation training, we have to also allow for mistakes, allow for errors to see what the consequences are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. You listed a lot of indirect costs earlier: students' time, faculty, facilitators. Have you done any sort of ROI analysis on how much that would save you and/or an end user? Because that's always the biggest question in the fire service.
Yeah. No, we haven't done that study. Other people have done similar studies. but we haven't looked at it. We know that an investment in a development team to develop all these assets, develop the realistic scenarios and the equipment is a big investment, but it's at the front end. And once you invest that, you can generate and you can really get your ROI.
Plus it scales, right?
Yes, and especially if you can deploy the technology or the training at scale, people don't have to travel, they can be getting the same quality of training anywhere in the world. That's what we're, and to follow that, and this is something that Ken, you mentioned, IMMERSE actually is a center, but also a catalyst for collaboration. And there is a huge investment on building up infrastructure for campus and also beyond campus. And so we realize that different groups across campus are developing their own VR systems, and we're looking at creating a repository for sharing assets so that other people, not from working in whatever domain, can also access. We're planning to deploy an open platform for VR simulation, etc. These are details that I didn't get a chance to answer, but yeah.
And I think it's similar question, but for the CHF, did you create a specific set of parameters for that patient to feed the large language model, or are you just relying on what is already learned in the large language model relative to CHF? Did you augment what's in open source to be able to get the detail that you needed?
Yeah, so we so currently we mostly use what they call rack and rack system.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
But in the future, the idea is to tap into the medical dictionary. I forget what the term is, so that we can have more variations. Yeah.
Yeah, so like with the lumbar puncture, for example, both now and in the future, would a medical student or whoever is doing this end up with as much real human time as they do now, and this is above and beyond, or does this reduce the amount of actual time on human practice?
So the medical curriculum is really tight. And we understand that if we ask the students to use simulation for part of their training, it's either taking away from their classroom time or their clinical time or laboratory time. And honestly, we have examined this problem, and we realize that students are not going to classes because they're boring. They're not going to labs because it's, as you saw in the pictures, they don't have enough time with the mannequin, and even with the mannequin, they're not getting the knowledge that they need. And so this would either replace or supplement what they're learning. And so, and for medical education, we have to adhere to what the objectives, learning objectives set out by LCME. And so we have to make sure that they are exposed to certain skills, they have certain competencies, even though the way that we implement our curriculum is free, it's up to us.
Yeah.
So we would have to examine that.
And the lumbar puncture case is very typical. It's not just for medical students. It's also for like residents, for experienced physicians. So according to the conversation we have, according to the neurologists we have spoken with, actually it is a great tool as a refresher for residents and experienced physicians who are not confident enough to perform lumbar puncture. So it's not just a replacement, it's a opportunity for those who want to get access but are not able to.
Are you seeing that the use of the AR/VR for existing employed individuals, does their training need to be observed, or would there be an attestation? The reason that I'm asking, right, if we got to a point where some of these tools, the Apple Vision Pro, were ubiquitous, and people were able to train at home,
Mm-hmm.
would that be acceptable? So wondering if you have any feedback on that.
Acceptable for accreditation purposes?
Yes, for their continuing education, or is it you still have to sit in a classroom and use it, you just don't have to go into a lab and use it?
For LCME accreditation, it is an exam that they have to go through. So however they train, it's really up to the medical school, and each medical school will do it differently. Yeah. But we have the capability of assessing performance.
For that role play in empathy simulation, did it take a while for the program to learn the person's voice? As far as inflection, things like that. Did he have to read a script first for the machine to actually learn that he was being empathetic?
No, we're not using tone. We're using word recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, we will use voice, tone.
Do you mean recognizing the voice or generating the voice?
Just in the way that the speech is being delivered. As
So-
far as being empathetic, the inflection of.
Yeah,
of-
we're
of
not there
Not
yet.
just the words, not yelling the words, but trying to talk the person down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
So this is our past iteration. So in our next iteration, we're gonna add an AI analysis on the speech that the trainees provide.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna use a more advanced generative model to generate speech for the virtual character. So both sides will be more emotional, and more emotions will be detected.
Ken?
So I'd like to ask a question about, you mentioned evaluating performance, and in one of your slides, Caroline, on the right-hand side, you had different levels. And I thought those were like indicators of performance. So my question is, where do you grab the metrics that determine performance levels? And have you been able to integrate them into the simulators to be able to rate the performance of the individual?
So at different levels, for technical skills, we're able to track movement. And if we're looking at technical skill performance, we're usually looking at time to task completion, precision, etc. So those parameters we can track. And by tracking them, we can evaluate and we can do comparisons of, pre-training, post-training, transfer of learning, etc. So at the technical level, it is very easy because we can track movement. There are other skills that we're tracking. So for example, communication. And this is an easy way to track communication. We can record what people are saying. We can analyze thematically what words are being used, and we can also look at how long it takes, how many iterations and how long it takes to achieve the goal. So, there are techniques to do that. What other situations we want to track? So for example, we can instrument everything within the environment. We can instrument the actors, the human operators, the OR staff. We can sense their physiological responses, and from that we can combine with other measures in order to infer whether they're stressed, whether they're performing well, and as well as situation awareness. Situation awareness is something that is very important for team training. In the OR, it is especially important because people are doing different things and they have to converge to a common goal to treat their patient. And so understanding through either communication verbally or through communication through gestures and body language or even glances is very important. So we're looking at using a multimodal model in order to analyze their performance that way. So we can do that.
And I'd like to suggest we have one or two more questions, and then we can conclude this session.
And you've partially answered my questions with some of the others, but going forward, I'm curious where Immerse and all the research you're doing differentiates between what's actually being applied out there today in the medical community and or law enforcement or wherever. So as you go forward,
So currently, we're doing this, and we're applying our simulations in the curriculum for our medical students at CIMMERSE. So the Jump Simulation Center is part of the College of Medicine. All the work that we have Duo has presented is from the Jump Simulation Center. And as we produce the simulations, we integrate them into the curriculum. In the past, before I arrived, they had no XR simulation. It was all high fidelity simulation. And so we're trying to slowly replace the high fidelity in-person simulation with XR simulation. The law enforcement simulation is a new project. We just started this a year ago with PTI, and they are waiting for us to develop something for them to use. And so we'll go through the process of development, evaluation, validating our scenarios before we deploy. And this summer we'll do a lot of that evaluation.
On average, how long does it take you to take a program from idea stage to finish?
Depends on how well formed the ideas are. So for example, the cardio, the heart failure scenario, we already had a simulation in high fidelity version. So we're just turning that into the VR version, which meant that the majority of the time and effort was in the development of the VR environment, the characters, the AI that supports the interaction. It took about a year, starting from scratch. I have to tell you that was the very first case we did. We started from scratch. So now we have all the assets that we can use for other scenarios, other applications. We have a lot of the processes already in place. We have so the next simulation will be much faster.
So you've developed a process then?
We do have a process. We have also built up our repository of assets that can be used, and we're planning to share them with the vet school. The vet school is also doing this. They also have assets that they would like to share with us. And the idea is through Immerse, to make this publicly available, not just to medical professionals, but to anyone who wants to develop XR.
Just a question to the audience. Hearing the work that they're doing and hearing what Immerse is going for to be an open source and making assets available to others. In the room, just raise your hand. Is that something that would be valuable to you as a resource as you look to engaging with immersive learning and technologies? Just a quick hand raise. All right, great.
So can I ask if you're all developing VR for training? Okay.
Those who are developing VR for training, raise your hand.
How about those who are buying it?
And those who are consumers. Those who are buying it, raise your hand.
Yeah. That's good to know, because I think together, especially through open source, we can really reduce the price point for this type of technology. And the idea for us is to democratize XR for different applications.
Great. All right.
Well, thank you for...
Thank you.
Thank you.